Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hello, Gertrude. I am so honored to be here. My name is Nicole Roe. I am currently chatting with you from Central Florida, but like many people, my story did not start in Central Florida. I'm actually born and raised in California, which is a very similar sunshine state, but I think it's an interesting part of my story, especially when it's related to entrepreneurship. I was born in Orange County. My dad was a small business owner in the LA area and decided to raise us in Bakersfield instead of, the Orange County lifestyle, which really was a great childhood. I got to experience all of the greatness California has with oceans and mountains, but still live a little more rural. Fast forward to, turning 18, I went to college in Atlanta, Georgia, to Georgia Tech. I am a firstborn daughter. My dad, is an engineer who graduated from Georgia Tech. So in many standard firstborn daughter situations, the expectation was that I went to Georgia Tech, I was an engineer, and kind of followed in his footsteps. I loved Atlanta. I loved going to Georgia Tech. I was not an engineer. That first semester made me realize that I was more of a creative, that my brain did work differently, and I needed to find a different major if I was going to thrive in college and get the degree. I switched into the College of Architecture, which had a building construction program, which was really exactly what I needed. I'm the type of person that likes to be hands-on, likes to be outside of an office, likes to see something from start to finish. I'm not happy being someone that, does something in the very beginning and never sees it to the end. I really like the whole experience. I also realized in college that the brain that I had, that I always knew was a little different, doctors and teachers and other people that were around me had always mentioned, like, she's really smart, but something is off. And if you think back to the 90s, females weren't diagnosed with ADD or ADHD. And my inability to focus, my inability to remember things, my desire to get hyper-focused, or my desire not to do something at all was seen as a negative. But college, I had some really great professors, some friends, and some others that helped me realize that I could lean into the ADHD a little bit more. Kind of forgot about all that for a little bit, fell in love, met my husband, who was also a building construction major at Georgia Tech. So we graduated together. We had a bunch of classes together. We had been friendly for a few years, but it wasn't till that fourth year of college that we became romantic. He's the reason I'm in Florida. His family are specialty citrus growers. They grow tangerines. They have a special variety called Juicy Crunch. I don't think we send it to Australia, but they also grow pomelos. So I'd be curious if pomelos are grown in Australia. But he's a citrus grower. His whole family, extended family, lives in Central Florida. This is 2009. So graduating with a degree in building construction in 2009, where the economy, especially in America, was not doing great. Construction projects had stalled. It was really okay, my internship didn't turn into a job. Now let's move to Florida. Why not? I was in love. He had a job. And then we moved down. We bought a house. We gutted this house ourselves. We built it back ourselves. And that was kind of intro one to interiors, where I really realized that I love design and I love construction. At the time, getting a job was hard, being a female with a degree in construction, but I found a great group of construction companies that took me on for a business development marketing role, which feels very, here's a job for the female in the industry. But looking back, I am so grateful for it. It allowed me to really network in a new community. It allowed me to make connections, make friends, get involved with charities and Main Street organizations and Chamber of Commerce's and other things that most 24-year-olds in a new town would never meet all these people. Worked for them for a few years. Yeah, as you know, we got married and then we started having children. After my first was born, we decided that working full-time didn't make sense. My husband's hours were extremely long. At the time, he was driving tractors in the evenings and on weekends, along with his daytime job working for his family, and it was hard. I took a part-time job with the family business, but realized after I started renovating their offices that it probably wasn't the right fit for me. We had another baby. I was staying at home with them. Then we had our third baby, which all of these babies are boys. So we had our third boy, and I realized that being a stay-at-home mom, as magical as it could seem for many people and how it was a dream for many women, even in the community I grew up in, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. A lot of her friends were. I couldn't do it. I couldn't stay home. I loved my babies. I loved hanging out with them, but I needed an outlet. My brain needed an outlet. So I started taking on very small interiors projects, helping people buy retail furniture, picking paint colors, styling shelves. And as most entrepreneurial journeys go, that turned into renovations and new builds. And now we have an office and a staff. And like I have said, we're under contract to buy a building, which if you would have asked me 10 years ago, that never would have been on my radar. It's really, really exciting. We're in a small town, which as a designer has some challenges because a lot of interior design firms are located in larger cities. Obviously, you can think of New York or LA, but even being in Orlando, Florida, or Atlanta, Georgia, you have a lot more resources. So we really had to figure out what we were going to do to have the same level of firm and provide the same services without everything else that the larger cities provided. And this was 8 years ago. So there wasn't all the courses online. There wasn't all the business coaches. Interiors was still very much a hush-hush industry. I'm happy to say that has changed really dramatically now. There are so many resources for new designers. It is honestly celebrated when somebody switches a career and starts a firm. You're not expected to have experience with another design firm. You really have the ability to start completely from scratch, but that really wasn't the case when I started. But now I have a team. I have some amazing projects. We've been published, and we really get to just celebrate design, but really give our clients the permission to have spaces that truly reflect who they are and not just like what their neighbor has or what they see on Pinterest or what they can see at, a retail store. Like we really, really dive into the person.
What an incredible journey you've been on with your business, your life. I love it when women know what they're good at and pursue it. A lot of young women would have gone with what the family wants you to do, just people pleasing and going along for the sake of making your dad happy or your parents happy, but you knew your strength and you pursued it. Now, you describe your journey from construction to couture interiors. What inspired you to carve out your unique niche and a path in a male-dominated industry?
I love construction. I love a job site. I love a renovation. I love really getting into the details of the bones. And that's not necessarily normal for a designer, but I've also realized the lifestyle that I want. I don't want to be on a job site at 6:30 a.m. I don't want concrete pours in the middle of the night. I want to be able to take my family on vacation. And a lot of contractors struggle with that. Their expectations are a lot more intense, but with interiors, I'm a creative. I have a great eye. I love it. I still get my construction kicks, but the expectations are a little lower. You don't need to be doing all the things the contractor's doing at all hours of the day.
That's awesome. Now, functional luxury is at the heart of your design philosophy. Can you explain what that means in everyday spaces?
Of course, I really believe that your home should serve you. And that doesn't just mean a bunch of IKEA hacks where your shoes go somewhere or your keys go somewhere. It really means di diving deep into how you live, how you and your partner live, how your kids live, if you have pets, whatever your lifestyle is, and then go through your routines. Like, what do you want to do in the morning? How does your afternoon look? What do your weekends look like? And really create a space and a house that reflects that. You want your house to be beautiful. You want it to reflect you. You want to see things you love. But if it allows you to live your best life because it works for you and it's set up how you want to live, then that's what's worth it.
That's just beautiful. Now, you've built your business into a full service firm. What have been the biggest mindset shifts that were required to grow a profitable business?
I would say we had two things that kind of worked in our favor and didn't work in our favor. Very few of our clients have ever worked for a designer before because there wasn't full service design firms to the extent that what we are doing in our county. So there was a lot of education with contractors, with clients, with trades, and even vendors of this is what full service means. This is what we are going to expect of you, and this is what you're to expect of us. But also growing up as a very middle class, my dad had his business, my mom stayed home, but it was the 90s. People didn't talk about money. You didn't know how much money your dad made. You didn't know how much money it cost to go on vacation. You didn't know how much really honestly groceries cost because you didn't talk about it. And now I'm in a business that we're sending out six-figure invoices. We have, 7 figures of revenue. I have monthly bills. Like these numbers are big. And that is what I really struggled with. And I still catch myself struggling with at times the amount of money and how large money is in the business. Because even if you go to interior design school, they're not going to do that with you. They're not going to teach you that, your client may not have an issue cutting a check for 200,000. Where for us, like your heart is like, I just, sent an invoice for $200,000 to furnish an entire home, but that person may not have the same money trauma or money issues that you do.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So, what has been the most surprising or emotional reaction a client has had in one of your designs?
We recently did a project where the gentleman has been a successful business owner for many, many years, recently went through a separation from his wife and was really starting a new journey of life. He had been staying in like a rental house, you know, the story of, just that bachelor pad that has nothing. And he had purchased a waterfront house on the coast of Florida. And the house was, very dated. And when he bought it, he's like, oh, let's just furnish it and paint it. But we knew it deserved more. We knew he deserved more. We
Mm,
gutted the place. We furnished it. But when he walked in, he was like, it feels like me. It feels like home. It feels
mm,
like the place I want my friends, my employees, my grandchildren, my children to come to. And I've never had that before. And this is a wealthy man, but for him
mm.
to say he's never had a place that's felt like him reminds us this is why we do this. This is why it's important.
Oh, I love that. That's just absolutely beautiful. Now, interior design often reflects, personal transformation. How has your own story influenced the way that you design for others?
A lot of it's confidence and a lot of it's trial and error. A designer in her mid 20s that hasn't lived a lot of life and, doesn't have a family, doesn't have a lot of experiences is going to design very differently than a designer who's pushing 40, who now has 4 kids and, a bunch of animals and a husband and who's lived in multiple houses. But I also just having the confidence to see someone that you're talking to that has hired you to see who they really are and who they aspire to be. Because a lot of these people don't even know. They're hiring us because they have no idea. They bought a new house. It's boring. It needs furniture, but they don't know what that means. And a lot by them allowing us into their lives is really, really awesome.
I love it. So, what barriers have you faced as a female founder in the construction and design world, and how did you overcome them?
It's funny because a lot of people see designers as expensive, a waste of money. And yes, we are a luxury service. Not everyone can hire a designer. I get that. But the amount of money we end up saving clients because of our expertise, we're not going in there saying, oh, we'll save you $100,000 of mistakes. But because we've done hundreds of bathrooms, we've done dozens and dozens of kitchens, we know the
Yes.
best wallpaper installers. But it took a while to get there. But I still find that people want to hire us too late. They're 2/3 the way through their house. They're overwhelmed. It doesn't look like they want it to. And now they hire us to like solve and make the world better for them. But getting past people's fear of the initial investment is definitely something we battle on a regular basis.
Hmm. Wow. So, how do you balance creativity with profitability in a service-based business like yours?
That is something that I struggle with, and my team definitely keeps me on track. You work with business coaches or you go to conferences, and they tell you, as designers, the best way to be profitable is to have 5 vendors and you pick the 5 sofas that you like and the 5 colors and, ordering over and over again. So you're efficient and your prices are best. But that is the complete opposite of my brain. I really want to charge a fair design fee where my team is compensated, I'm compensated. Then we purchase the furniture, the decor, the window treatments, the light fixtures, and we charge like a reasonable like market value. Like we're charging, I mean, there's always a website maybe that could find something a little more affordable, but in general, we charge a fair retail price. So we're making, the money there. And sometimes we find vintage, which I love vintage. Sometimes we get makers that make something from scratch. Like we
Mm,
really try to make the space so unique to the client where maybe if we ordered from 5 vendors that had the highest profit margin, we would be more profitable. But I think we get more clients and more happy clients, but also happier team members because we're doing
mm.
some really fun stuff.
Oh, I love it. Now, you're known for attention to detail. What are the 3 non-negotiables in every space that you design?
Art. I love art. I
Mm.
think art is something that you can collect over time. We try to get clients to not have their main walls bare, even if we have to do some sort of reproduction or something lower budget. But art tells a story and it brings you joy. You can't walk into a room of a friend of yours that is full of art and not be able to tell who they are. So art is definitely my number one. We tell people from the beginning, we have an art budget. This is what we're doing. Lighting. It is not an operating room. It is not needing to be insanely bright and white light. We want the light to be flattering. We want you to feel good in the light. We really like warmer temperatures. Being in Florida, we stay around 3,000. Up north here, they can get to about 2,700, which is more yellow. But we've all walked into a restaurant or walked into someone's home and it is so bright. Everybody looks pale and sick and tired. So definitely light. I would say having eye level light, whether it's sconces or lamps. We use a lot of like timers and smart plugs here. So in the
Okay.
evening, your lights come on when you get home from work if it's starting to get dark, and it just sets the mood very well. And I would say paint. I was going to say wallpaper because I adore wallpaper, but I think you can get the same feeling from paint. We love for paint to be a little muddy, which for us always has a little bit of a brown. You can see the blue behind me. It's actually Waterloo by Sherwin-Williams, if anybody's a Sherwin-Williams fan. But we love muddy colors because they have some nuance to them. So they're a little different in the morning. They're a little different during the day when the sun's brighter. Right now it's raining outside here, so it is a little moodier. But the nuanced colors, they allow your brain to settle a little bit more, and they really can tie everything together.
That's interesting. Now, with over 25,000 followers and a growing brand, how do you stay authentic while scaling your reach?
Authentic is one of my favorite words because I think to be authentic, you have to be okay with not everyone agreeing with your point of view, not everyone liking your designs. We've gotten DMs and messages from people with comments, and in my head, I'm like, you didn't need to say that, but also you're allowed to not like the paint color. You're allowed to think I used too much wallpaper in that house because I know why I did it and my clients love it. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
I love it. So, what role do cultural influences play in your aesthetic? Any particular global experiences that have shaped your approach?
I love that question. I think everybody has a story. Everybody has things that, even if they don't know it, that is their story, whether it's their family hobbies, where they vacationed as a kid, something that their great grandmother loved, like having those collections in your home. We
Yeah.
just inherited this brass plate. It's probably maybe 30 inches round from my husband's grandmother who passed away a few months ago. And it was from Egypt because she traveled there and they actually lived there growing citrus for years. And having that hanging above my stairs just brings me joy. And I haven't been to Egypt. Would I love to go at some point? Yes. But I know she lived there. I know she developed a life there. And that is a story that I can tell anyone who goes down those stairs when they ask, what is that on your wall? And I think
Yes,
that can come from large things. It can come from small things. It can come from your music collection, your art collection. But I think tying in collections and really can tell whatever story you want it to tell.
that is beautiful. Now, your work is both creative and technical. How do you draw on your Georgia Tech background in your design process?
Georgia Tech taught me how not to fail. It taught me the grit, that taught me the late nights, the efforts that was required. Like I mentioned before, I was ADHD in college. I was unmedicated. It was hard. I would study. I would study. My physics professor said, I have never seen someone try so hard and do so poorly in my class. And that made me realize that I'm not going to be a physicist, but what can I do? I'm an intelligent human. I have great attention to detail, but I also know I'm not the person that's going to sit on AutoCAD all day. So I have a designer that works for me who is great at AutoCAD. She's great at some of that really technical stuff where I can come in with the ideas, with the selections, with the design direction, with really the experience. And with both of us combined and our other team members, we have all the skills we need to do it really, really well. Because I
Yes,
think knowing your own limitations is really important.
that is so true. Now, we were talking earlier about the possibility of you doing a TED talk and maybe writing a book. What message would you want the world to hear from you?
I really want people to understand that they can be unapologetically themselves in their spaces, whether it's their house or their office. Everybody works so hard on their personal brand, their social media, the clothes they wear, the car they drive. But a lot of times these individuals are coming home to very bland, boring, unfinished spaces
Mm,
because they haven't been taught or told or understand the impact that their spaces around them could really have
yeah,
and how much their life could be elevated if they allow their space to reflect who they really are.
that is so true. And a lot of times, like the situation you mentioned in the very beginning of the man who had gone through a divorce, your space is normally decorated by someone else, and you don't get to put your touch to the environment you're living in. So that's absolutely crucial.
It is. And even for those that are married and have children, you have to find that compromise. You have to see what's important to each person and
Yes.
really decide, who's going to say something is okay or somebody has a hard stop. And that's allowed. People are
Yeah,
allowed to say they don't want something.
that's so true. So I'm going to finish our interview with two questions that are a bit of a thought experiment.
Okay.
In the first one, I'm going to teleport you back, and we are going to go and have a conversation with the younger you, the young woman who went into the world of design, construction. Just in case there's a young woman who's listening to this podcast and is wanting to follow in your footsteps, what three nuggets of wisdom would you give her based on what life has taught you up until this point?
I would say that it's going to be hard, but know that hard is okay. You're going to make mistakes. When I look back at some of my first design projects, I cringe. And I say that with love because that is how you learn. Number two, I would say surround yourself with friends or peers or family that really have your back because there is going to be times that you're really, really going to doubt why you're doing this. Someone's going to be disappointed in you. Someone's going to be upset. Something's going to be damaged. And you're really just going to want to be done. And third, I would say just enjoy it. Take risks, have fun, make friends, take the photos, just enjoy the ride because it is a really, really magical industry.
Absolutely beautiful. Last question. I'm going to teleport you into the future this time. And we are going to go and have a conversation with a 90-year-old you. And she's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her children, her grandchildren, whoever's with you at the end. If we could teleport into the future to meet this wise woman who has led you up until this point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
That it was worth it, that the goals we did and the activities and all of the effort and the hard days were worth it because I always had my priorities of my family, my children, my husband were there. I never pushed that aside. And to me, that is number one. I will also say that I have a pet sulcata tortoise that when I am 90, I am sure is still going to be thriving.
I absolutely love that. Yep, you got yourself a pet that lasts forever.
I do, and he's amazing.
Nicole, thank you so much for coming online and sharing your story with us today. It's absolutely inspiring, especially when I see women who are on the cutting edge, breaking those barriers in male-dominated environments and bringing your flair and creativity into these spaces.
This was really so much fun. And I know with our time difference, it's super early for you right now and it's dinner time for me, but I just love that we were able to make this happen.
Absolutely awesome. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you have that space, your home, your office, that is needing that personalized touch, you now have somebody you can reach out to. Nicole is here to hold your hand every step of the way to create a space that reflects who you truly are. So we'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Nicole, thanks again for this interview.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.